the Monster Mash.
The Monster Mash.
I'm Luke Summerhaze.
I'm James J. Miles.
And I'm James the Jester Stewart.
And you're listening to Monster Mash.
Yeah, boy.
Hey, we're back.
For now.
Well, yeah, we're not back.
Wow. Sort of.
We're not back quite as soon as we were hoping.
Yeah.
No. No, we're not.
It's still going
But-
to be a bit of a wait, sadly.
We're here to, tickle the balls. For a year. Well, half a year, probably, until we find out more. But it's real, lads. Monster Hunter Wilds.
Monster Hunter 6.
Yes.
And it is 6.
Yeah, I have no respect for anyone who says World 2.
Yeah, it's
No, it's
mad talk. People that say World 2.
it's wild.
It's Wilds now, yeah. But it is the start of the 6th generation. So
Indeed it is.
They literally put a 6 in the logo,
Yeah.
They were not subtle
I'm pretty
about it.
sure, and when it reveals that logo, in the trailer, I'm pretty sure there's 6 little ripples before Wilds part comes in as well.
Mm-hmm.
Before we speak about the teaser trailer, what do we feel about the name?
I think it makes sense as the next one after World.
Mhm.
Because it would have been pretty lame if they'd called it Monster Hunter Galaxy or something. As a way.
The universe.
This time, Rathalos is in space.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
I mean, I'm glad it.
When you go.
On you, Jazz.
I was just going to say,
No,
I
I
think
exist.
Bloody hell. You can tell we've not done this for a while, eh? I was just going to say, I think the names they've basically tried to get as close to World as they can. For those players, because there is a lot of players, for a lot of people who were joking about, obviously, people say World 2. There's a lot of players like that because World sold the most out of any other Monster Hunter game ever, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, the most out of any Capcom game.
Yeah, that as well, yeah. But obviously that's why they're thinking with the name, I think they're hitting close to the line as possible, just so those players can go, right, that's the sequel to World.
I am glad it's not World 2.
Absolutely.
I don't think that would have been a great name, because it's kind of suggesting it's a sub-series then. Which it isn't. It's the next mainline Monster Hunter game. It is, we said, Monster Hunter 6 for all intents and purposes. So yeah, good name. I'm down with it.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we get into the actual trailer itself?
So I saw this trailer because I just went on YouTube and there was the trailer for me to watch. Were you guys watching the Game Awards and seeing it live?
I saw it live, yeah.
I never saw it live, but I did see
Why?
it unspoiled because
Why did I watch it live? Because I'm a maniac and I had nothing else to do and I was awake, so...
I did skim watched the Game Awards the next day without knowing what was coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime I think I maybe had the best way then. So I still got the kind of surprise reveal in a sense, and I got to skip all the guff and gubbins that I did not care about, like 10 minutes of Kojima getting wanked off on stage.
I gotta say though, I like the fact that the Kojima part, when Jordan Peele came out, that was amazing. I'm a big Jordan Peele fan, so love his films. So that involvement was great. Anyway, on to the trailer stuff, I guess.
But on the same note of the Game Awards, just one little thing about Wilds, the fact that, and this is probably staggering, even going back to when we started this podcast, that Monster Hunter closed out. This was the big and one more thing announcement at the Game Awards was Monster Hunter. Can you imagine telling us that 7 years ago? That's crazy. Obviously for you, Jas, even longer. That's even a Monster Hunter fan. crazy how obviously World is to thank for that. Like it exploded the series in popularity. But yeah, that's huge. That's really really good for the series.
Yeah, that is pretty bonkers.
And a pretty like loud reaction from like the live crowd that was there as well. Like,
yeah,
it's
people
like,
love
great
Monster.
to see, which obviously shows the popularity that the series has went to.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
My brother sent me a few TikToks of like streamers reacting to the trailer, and it reminded me of how I was back when I saw the Rise trailer on that Nintendo Direct.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas obviously this time I wasn't watching it in a way to be surprised, and also like I guess for those people, they're like big console gamers who are waiting for a sequel to World, whereas I'm a big Switch gamer who was waiting for a sequel to Double Cross. So.
Well, this was kind of going back to I don't know if you were in the call, because we used to back in the E3 days. Like I remember we used to have like a big group of us, and some of us would stay up and actually watch the E3 conferences live.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember having a group of us watching the Sony conference where they first dropped the trailer for World, and I remember our reaction was, and you could probably go back and listen to our reaction thoughts back on an old cast, but I remember it was a bit muted just because it was such a stark departure from what we knew as Monster Hunter. Like it felt like it was risky, maybe was the right way to put it. Like, are they going to nail this expansion in the game scope? And obviously they did.
Looking back on it now, it was actually not risky. It was them playing it very safe by sort of hiding how wacky Monster Hunter was while they were advertising to the more general gaming public, right?
Correct. I think that was part of why we were a bit muted on it as well, because like it
looks like they've toned it down. It's a Western
panic
version.
setting for like some Monster Hunter fans, like seeing that initial reveal because of the grappling hook thing. Like you see like grappling hooks being like popular in games, and then Monster Hunter's like, oh no, it's adding that grappling hook. Like this is not my Monster Hunter.
Kind of.
But I remember
the whole idea of like it is the Western version of something that we grew to love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like adding a grappling hook, and it's the the epitome of that, perhaps in that day and age. But yeah, they nailed it. Obviously.
Because then we would get trailer by trailer, we would see like, oh, here's some cooking some meat, and here's the funny run, and here's a wacky monster, and slowly it was like, oh, okay, actually no, this is just Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
And in the end, I had some issues with World, but just in terms of like how the missions were structured.
Same.
Because but that's just because I'm used to older Monster Hunters, right?
But
there was obviously
that was like the biggest departure. Was like like you said, like the quest list was completely different layout to what we're used to. Like the freedom of choice, like almost, and how awkward it was to kind of team up and join a quest together. Like,
yeah, definitely.
But obviously, they found an audience,
mm-hmm.
And I think it's that audience that they're looking to dive back into and recapture their excitement once again with Wilds, as we saw in the trailer.
So we were all expecting a trailer for a game that's coming out next year.
Yeah. Shall we wait to uncork that genie in the bottle till we've?
Well, I don't think we can, because I think the problem that this is very clearly a very early trailer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it shows a very empty world.
It's more of a
doesn't even show any combat really. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I suppose you're right. It will colour our conversation about the trailer itself, right? So yeah. So obviously we'll get to the meat and potatoes of the trailer in a minute, but at the end of it, we got the big dagger through the heart of 2025 flashing up on screen, and yeah, I was gutted. I'm not gonna lie, I was gutted. I was well keen for tucking into some Monster Hunter. I was thinking maybe summer next year at the latest, but nah. No dice.
I mean, I'm in a very different place, I guess, because but there was a part of me that's just like, oh, thank God, because I was not going to find time to play it next year.
Yeah, I suppose you have plans coming up like in your personal life that would put a bit of a spanner in the works for diving into Monster Hunter games. You got a bit more time to prep.
Whereas, yeah, if it comes out when I've been living with my girlfriend for a year, if I suddenly disappear for 900 hours to play Monster Hunter, it won't be quite as bad.
Yeah, you need to ease her into that. I'm going to disappear for about 3 weeks at the beginning of next year, and you're just going to have to deal with that. It's just a fact of
I'm
life.
away off to the wilds. See you in 900 hours.
Yep.
I am hoping we get a similar sort of release window like World, though, like early in 2025, because if it does end up being, later, if we're talking it's 18 months or more away at this stage, then I will be gutted. But I'd imagine from a Capcom financial aspect, like when's the financial year? Is it April usually?
March, yeah.
Yeah, for Japan, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd imagine they'll want that to come out in their financial year, like to say, yeah, we had a starter.
That's typically where most of the Monster Hunter games do come out, like they either been January or March. They're always in that first quarter.
I imagine next year is just going to be a slow drip feed of like teasing us with it.
Well, after you wouldn't have seen this in the trailer, obviously yourself, Luke. But afterwards, Keighley spoke to Ryoji Suzimoto. Ryozo. Apologies. Yep. On stage, and they asked like, when are we going to hear more? And he said, you're going to hear more in the summer of 2024. So that suggests to me that either Capcom
Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest.
Yep, that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
because it was still like early in the hours in the morning of me watching that live. I thought at the time they said December of 2024, like for more info. Like, so I was even more kind of grumpy after seeing the 2025 release window.
But yeah, that's Gamescom, Prime Gamescom time, right? Because that's Keighley does that to kick off games. No, he does something even earlier, doesn't he? Yeah, Christ, that man and his fingers and all the pies. But
he would. But what we have seen of the game, really the only thing we've seen for sure is you get to ride a big bird dog.
Yeah. That for me this was a friendly, familiar sight because basically chocobos are in Monster Hunter. So I'm down. I love a good flying, friendly bird.
I was surprised at that at first because, like, when you initially see the bird dog, like, you think, oh, it's just like you're riding like a little raptor, like almost, until you see it go into its like full stride, and it's actually got longer like front limbs than you initially see.
I am very glad that we are getting a mount in Wilds, because after Rise and the Palamutes, like, it would be difficult to go back to just trudging around a map. I think the Palamutes did so much for ramping up the overall flow of a hunt, right? So the fact that we've got our good old friend Choco Dog, then I'm down. I'm very much down for that.
Obviously, I'm a little disappointed that means Palamutes are like a one-hit wonder.
Yeah, I guess it would have been good to see the Palamutes come across, and get a big PS5.
Who's to say they're not
right?
not still in Wilds, right? You could have like this could just be another companion, like pet.
Possibly, but it looks like they've gone for. Looks like they've gone for this one to have a lot more movement than the Palamute did.
I suppose.
Yeah, well, this one was kind of gliding about, right? So,
Yeah.
that suggests to me, just from a map perspective, that we might have some really wide open plains, and like perhaps even a bit of, the verticality aspect that was in World is, I'd imagine, going to be present in Wilds as well. I can fully imagine just like leaping off a cliff and like soaring across, a big wide open plain, which is, you're speaking of earlier on, like, about kind of the trailer kind of having wide empty spaces that not much was in there. And yeah, granted, I think that's probably for the trailers aspect, but I'd imagine we will have kind of some sweeping plains being a big feature of all these maps, because I do get the impression that with the name Wilds as well, I do expect bigger maps as a whole, and I think that's been quite a common point of conversation across the Monster Hunter community as well.
Well, I mentioned this elsewhere online, but this trailer is obviously designed to make you think, oh, this is an open world game.
Mm-hmm.
But Pokemon has done that repeatedly with its trailers, and then they've not been open world games. And even the first Monster Hunter World trailer, some people are like, oh, is this open world? Is that why it's called World? So I ain't going to believe anything till I see it.
Yeah. I mean, it would be pretty crazy if, you don't have that kind of returning to town loading screen between each hunt. Like, imagine just you all gear up at the gate and then you ride out on your Choco Dogs into the zone that you're in. And then like having like multiple, this is me just getting into pure like speculation, what I'd love to see. But imagine if it was more like a Monster Hunter 4 style adventure, a 4 Ultimate Adventure, where like you're traveling from settlement to settlement and kind of you're on a quest then that way. Like, I think that would be incredible.
Like you're picking up like quests. You'll be doing like quests. You're picking up like quests to do like on your way to like the next location, type of thing.
That's it. Yeah. And I imagine you could still like fast travel and start a quest.
I was going to say, as long as there still is an option to just treat it like an old Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Because if I'm playing like with you guys, we're just having some fun. Do we want to spend half an hour just like, trekking to the hunt we want to do? So hopefully I would like it if it basically just is like Rise or World, but those maps are all interlinked to make one big world.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So kind of still staying on the world itself and the map design that we're kind of speculating just from the early trailer. Something that happens in the trailer is there's a big sort of dust storm that sweeps in the middle of the trailer and like properly blankets the whole scene and creates this big chaotic kind of ruckus between what I couldn't decide if small or large monsters. Maybe we'll get to that in a minute. But like, speaking of the dust storm, it does suggest that are we going to get some weather effects that have more of an impact on battle moving forwards? I think that'd be quite a cool change for the series.
Yeah, like more like dynamic, like weather that kind of ruffles like the feathers of like small and large monsters. I'd definitely go with that. That's what I got from the trailer at least. And I think those big bear creatures I'm saying they're small monsters. Because I'd be very surprised if it, like, because there's like 6 or 7 of them, like chasing the main character during the storm. And I don't think you're going to have like 6 or 7 like large monsters like chasing you down on a quest.
I remember the World trailer like made the small monsters look more dramatic, right? And then they ended up being.
Yeah,
I think that's just something because it makes the world look more alive.
Yeah, these could just be like
they're just
that happen like during your
they
quest
look
as well,
like a story.
I don't even think
sort of like a story event.
Yeah,
yeah, I can see that.
I don't even necessarily think they were chasing the player. I think they're just running from the sandstorm, the same as the player is,
or
like how Popo's run from the monster.
Whatever's in the sandstorm.
Whatever's causing the sandstorm and the thunder that you see.
Oh yeah, I mean, maybe it has very dynamic weather because it's actually going to show like the impact Elder Dragons have.
Yeah, I was going to mention that as a point. Like, if there are like kind of dynamic weather changing moments, like imagine like you're just on the middle of a hunt and much like how you have the kind of monsters coming into the ecosystem in both World and Rise. Like imagine like a Kushala Daora turns up, and suddenly the landscape, all the trees are getting whipped by the storm, and like big gusts of wind are flying everywhere, and all the other monsters go into hiding because, oh shit, here's Kushala Daora come to fuck up the landscape, and you got to go deal with that before you can maybe go do your proper hunt. Something like that. Yeah, I could see that happen. Counterpoint to those not being large monsters as well, Jas. The Rampage. They have had lots of large monsters on screen before.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that is a point. I just don't see. I don't know how they would balance that, like in a quest, and like to not make it annoying, where you're trying to like hunt a target monster on a certain quest, and then a storm erupts out of nowhere, and then you've got like 6 other large monsters to kind of deal with. Like, and you would have to like fight around that. Like, that's my worry with that. Definitely makes the quest more exciting, but like, I think more of your kind of veteran Monster Hunter players, like, I don't think they would like take to that as much.
No, I agree.
Like
I think
especially like the speedrunning community as well. Like that'd be another kind of hurdle for those guys to kind of get over.
I will, as much as what they do is cool and all, I don't think Capcom would design the game around that though.
Oh, definitely not. Like even like World had its hurdles for like speedrunners. What could be used and what couldn't, like the environmental traps and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember the environmental traps looking way more significant in the trailers than they ended up being in the game.
Like the big slinger boulder traps and that, you mean?
Yeah.
Stuff like that as well, like, but like the vine traps and stuff. Those were generally, stuff like that was generally agreed upon in like the speedrun community of like, if you accidentally or intentionally use those, your run gets invalidated, basically.
Huh.
There's a whole host of other things, but like, I'm pretty sure those were deemed like kind of illegal to use.
I mean, none of us are ever going to be at that level anyway.
So if it's like, if like Wilds is like, if as like the storm and there's monsters coming in as like like we mentioned, like a story event, then I guess it's something like the player could like still avoid or control to a certain aspect.
Yeah, but just might mean your target monster will bolt from a particular area of the map, whilst the kind of horde or herd
or you could
of
like
large
make them
monsters
move on as well with the good
rampaging.
old fashioned dung pod.
Yeah, of course. Somebody, another YouTuber I followed was looking at the kind of large bear monsters and said there was quite a lot of like Gos Harag DNA around them, which after kind of like looking at the trailer myself and like looking at them, I can see where he was coming from. So it could be perhaps a subspecies or something like that of Gos Harag turning up.
Well, they often design creatures to look related to other creatures, right? They have they go for like quite a realistic biology.
Yeah, something like a Blangonga, Rajang, same sort of family, but different fights indeed. I thought the other small monster we saw in the trailer, the ones that kind of were like lightning rods, like those were really cool.
Pangolins, so like the armadillo type things.
Yeah, like super intrigued about them.
Yeah, they had like Godzilla spikes.
yeah, they were getting struck by the lightning, just like enhancing the power.
Like imagine like a Zenogre turn up and amongst them, and suddenly your fight goes like from you've not just to deal with Zenogre, but like a horde of lightning rod enemies.
Yeah, that's
that
like
are
another thing as well.
things
The
in
trailer
Uber's power.
showing off, like, I think they were basically kind of showing off, look at how many small monsters we can get on screen. Like, there was like a lot.
Well, am I right in saying I didn't pay close attention to the logos at the end of the trailer, but this wasn't announced for Switch. It was PC.
PS5
And was it
and Xbox.
just PS5? So they're not doing a cross-gen PS4. Okay.
No, I think those days are behind us.
Yeah.
Especially by 2025.
yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad as well though. Like that, it could have happened, and if it did, I would have been a bit disappointed because it means that we're probably not getting the Monster Hunter 6 at its full potential. And as much as I love my Switch at the same point as well, at this point I'm a little bit glad it's skipping the Switch as well, so we can see what they're going to do. Like, every chance that, come summer we'll get another trailer and we'll find out there's a Switch 2 coming and that'll be included in there, But for the time being, with the Switch basically having the same oomph behind it as a PS4, not 360, Xbox One, then yeah, I'm glad it's sticking to the current gen machines.
Yeah, well, I keep saying, and now I know when I'm buying my PS5.
Yes.
At the perfect time. For a game that's actually exclusive.
Was that the case for you in a PS4, or did you get one for Bloodborne?
I bought one for this podcast, remember? We were recording an episode where you guys were hunting and I was just like chatting, and I was like, I could just go out and buy a PS4 right now, and then I went and bought one that night.
Yes, I remember now, yes.
Because I originally played World on my Xbox One, but then left the country 3 days after the game came out.
That's right, yes. It's all coming back to me now. I suppose the last big talking point that I wanted to bring up about the trailer was something that I didn't initially notice, but upon kind of seeing some fan chat about it, that there seems to be, on the Hunter's kind of like loadout, obviously we saw a big strapping greatsword on the back of it, as is the trend with Monster Hunter games, but they also seem to have a bowgun attached to the chocolate dog. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen two lines of theories with this. Some people are saying it's like, oh, you're going to have an option to switch weapons mid-hunt. Which I would be down for. I think that would be a cool way to expand Monster Hunter. I've also seen people pointing out that in one of the art books, they had like a net gun for catching endemic life that looked pretty similar to that gun. So it might just be that.
So like something to use on the back of your mount, like as you go about.
Yeah.
Like travel in the area.
Like mounted combat, like with a gun.
No, well, it would just be like
like
for collecting like endemic life and maybe like ore or whatever. Like quickly as you kind of trot by on your choco dog, if that's what we're calling it.
That is what we're calling it, yes. Just like, until we get the official name, it's Choco Dog. Somebody else as well mentioned, and I couldn't see this myself. I was kind of looking at the picture they'd shared, and I was going, I'm not sure where you're seeing this. They said that it looked like there's a receptacle on the back of the Hunter's back. It looked like it might be scout flies again, and I couldn't see it. And I kind of hope it isn't.
I've seen screenshots like of more like kind of thinking of the Hunter, and it definitely looks like they might still have Slinger and Scout Flies.
Slinger, I'm fine with.
Yeah.
Keep it in. Scout Flies.
It's just whether the game has Clutch Claw or not. Like, I'm fine with the normal Slinger, but Clutch Claw, again, stay away. That mechanic.
If they do have the Scout Flies, they need to really rework the tracking mechanic, I think.
Yeah.
For the Scout Flies. Which I'm sure they will if it does turn
They
out.
generally have a
It
good
won't
track
be-
record with that sort of stuff, like where like the community kind of gives their feedback and like kept going, right, that's not where we want it to be, and they fix it generally either in the expansion or like the following game.
Mhm.
So if they do bring like Scout Flies back, like I'd definitely like 95% sure they'll like improve on it.
Well, I for one am tentatively excited, but I'm glad. I mean, I'm not getting too excited because we've got at least a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine I'll be a lot more excited after whatever we see in the summer, because that's when we'll really get to see the game take form
Well,
and,
they might even like
see in action.
give you like they might end up either like giving you a date at that point as well, right? Like that could be.
I'd imagine they will. Yeah.
Or at the very least, they would say early 2025, which would confirm between January and March.
Yeah. Well, I think when World was revealed, I can't remember if they gave an exact date or they just said early 2018 when that dropped. But
For World.
that was for World, yeah.
Yeah,
that was E3.
Yeah,
so,
they said early 2018.
Yeah. So I think it'll be a similar scenario for Wilds. We'll get a release window in the summer, and it'll hopefully, fingers crossed, be early 2025. Please. Please, Mr. Sissimoto, please.
It's got to be, surely.
Alrighty. Well, this podcast is still kind of on hiatus. I suspect we'll pop up here and there when there are interesting trailers. Or maybe I will eventually do that episode on Monster Hunter Now, where I just give it a good kick in.
You did threaten ranting during our Wilds trailer episode here, but we've been pretty positive, so maybe we'll keep it that. We'll keep the tone light.
And maybe a bit closer, we'll do that. Well, rather soon, before we actually have much more information, we should do an episode of sort of drafting our dream Monster Hunter 6. Could be fun. But yes, once more Monster Hunter games do emerge, be that Wilds, or if they decide to put out some kind of
Saying Wilds now after saying 6, like
retro
it's so far
compilation
away,
or
you're still
something.
calling it Monster Hunter 6.
Well, because this is more like what we would want.
Yeah.
That's the next game.
I know.
They may put something out for the anniversary next year, like Jas, you were talking about, maybe like a compilation of the older games, or like a remake
like a
of 4 or
collection,
something.
maybe like the collection of the first 3 games, maybe, or like just release like an HD remaster of 4U, please. I take that.
If something like that comes along, then maybe we'll do some episodes on those monsters. But yeah, the podcast will be back properly when Monster Hunter is back properly, I'd imagine.
Indeed.
Until then, you can hear me, Jas, and Jay every single week on Hyrule Field Report, talking about the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And you can hear me, Jay, and Andy, remember him, and sometimes even Mus, on the Game Show, a game show about games in the vein of British panel shows. You can find all of this by going to patreon.com/podcastius. And until then, what can they tweet?
The tweet. Oh my god, I forgot how we ended this.
AndyMan949.
Like, you can tweet at AndyMan949 and ask him where the fuck he's been and where is he now.
See ya.
Cheerio.
Goodbye.